Hello, welcome to the Commander's Corner. I'm GenSilos. Here with me is JadeXyan,
Hello.
Captain Busy,
Ahoy!
and it's been a hot minute since our last episode. Schedules and the such, new baby, things going on. So glad we finally got together and got this rolling once more. We have lots to talk about. So why don't we start with some of the bigger in your face things, such as the new vanity skins and emotes and the like.
Yeah, it doesn't really get much more in your face than a giant unicorn neighing out of the wreckage of your opponent's base, does it?
Nope. Or the Seth fumbling around with his hat the entire time, or when you're blinded on the battlefield by golden tag bikes.
Yeah, amen to those ones. Now, I'll be completely honest, I'll jump straight in on this one actually, because this is something that I've been burning to say.
Okay.
I hated this idea when it was first when people started spitballing this as an idea, as a concept. Playing Hearthstone, playing Clash Royale, I hate emotes. I hate emotes with a passion. The Rivals ones, when they first announced them, I looked at them like, oh my good lord, what is this? You know, it looks like claymation animation of the different characters. The explosies, like, do I really want a laughing skull or a salt shaker over the explosion and the wreckage? And what the hell is that giant purple rockworm? The more I've actually had these around, the more they genuinely have grown on me. To the point I'm eagerly holding on to 1,000 diamonds, waiting for the Jade emote drop.
Oh yeah, me too, brother. You have no idea. But you don't like the purple people eaters?
I didn't at first, but actually having seen the gold attack bikes in the game, even the Green Titan, I'm fairly impressed with. Tempted to try and actually get that along the tracker myself.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised too. Like I didn't know the emotes were going to be animated, and I'm not gonna lie, some of them look like they need another render pass, but they're all really charming and fun, and the voice lines really sell them.
Yeah,
I'm actually playing Seth a lot more than I ever would have, simply because he's the only one with emotes right now.
Well, they just came out with Kane and Liang
Oh, good. Was that just this week?
a couple days ago,
this
I
week.
believe.
Yeah. That said, I'm the same. I've gone back to using strong arm purely so that I can taunt people in a thick Irish brogue.
I guess I'll be the dissenting opinion here.
We need one.
I don't like the emotes. Well, that's not true. That's not fair. I love Liang's emotes. I think Liang's emotes are actually really good. I don't like any of the others. For the most part, in the middle of a battle, you aren't going to look at the animation of an emote. You just aren't. That's not where your attention is.
Hmm.
So I think the animated part is fairly pointless. And secondly, in the middle of a battle, as much as I might love Liang's emotes, I'm never going to navigate that menu and find the emote I want because I'm in the middle of a battle.
Yeah, that navigation menu is absolutely cumbersome.
Yeah, it's not great.
I don't see any way you can easily improve it though, and it is very much the same system. I mean, obviously, in Hearthstone it works because you're looking at a more turn-based environment.
I've already made several suggestions to improve it. For starters, you could pick your 3 favorite emotes and have them along the top of the screen so you don't have to navigate a menu.
And every single game has about one eighth of your screen completely unusable because of your base. So like you can attack your enemy's base, but if you click and hold your base, you can have like a rose dial of emotes for quick access as well.
Also true, you don't need that menu. There's a whole lot of ways they could have done that better.
A rose dial actually is a really cool idea. I hadn't even considered that. Price wise, I don't think $8 is bad. I really don't think $8 is actually that bad.
It's pretty standard for a lot of free-to-play games to have emotes and whatnot around that price.
Again, I know I get the whole EA shill thing thrown at me, but just comparing it to other games. Again, Clash Royale, a single emote is $5. Single emote. These packs are $8, and it's how many emotes? And they're probably, they've got full animations, like them or love them, or hate them. I need the negative option in there as well. uh, but the price point I don't think is bad. But obviously, if you want to get all 8 commanders in suddenly racks up a little bit, and the completionist in me is sitting there looking at ones like Solomon and the commanders I don't use, going, I still get them. Kane, I really want to get Kane just because it is Joseph frickin' Kuchen. Like, well done for getting him back.
Oh wait, hold on. I missed this news. They got Joseph to come back?
Kane is Joseph.
Oh my god. Why haven't I already bought this?
I don't like them though.
Oh no!
I don't think the lines are great for him. Like, there's some really iconic nod lines I wish they had gotten him to do.
There are some bits I think are a little hit and miss on it, and I don't use Kane, but damn it, I want them. The emotes make me want to use commanders that I don't normally use, which I think in itself says a lot.
Really, the only major thing outside of usability issues with the emotes that they're missing is something that'll bundle them all together and give you a discount of some sort for buying all of them.
See, I imagine we'll get that.
And I do too. It feels like a decent next step. I also kind of wish they didn't rotate them like they're doing. I wish they were just all out and available at all times, because I can't imagine it's clear for a new player when they go to press that corner and they see something that says purchase in the store and then they can't find it, that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, I get what you mean. That they go to use emotes on, say, Seth now, only to find that they don't have them. It directs them to the store. They go to the store, and where are the Seth emotes?
Exactly.
I suppose it's arguably it's for that whole FOMO thing that you see it in the store and you splash by it. I wouldn't have gone for strong arm if you'd put all 8 commanders instantly in the store. I would have just Jade. I'd love to see, like we were saying earlier as well, Jade, like the difficulty of using it mid match.
Yeah.
I don't know. To me, that's what makes it even more insulting. Like if you're playing a game, I had this 2 days ago. I'm playing a game. I'm working my absolute ass off trying to win this battle, and I'm losing. And when I'm losing, this guy starts pulling out the emotes, and it's like, oh my goodness! Not only am I losing, I'm losing so hard that you have time to emote.
Yeah, I've lost a few games on my stream where I decide to emote, and it's so cumbersome that I've lost the advantage and the momentum.
And for anyone listening with emotes who ends up facing me, just know I play without sound. Your emote does nothing.
No fun allowed on Jade's around. Jeez.
Sorry, I don't play without sound to avoid your emotes. I just play without sound to avoid all the other noises, and it just happens to hit those too.
We say no fun allowed around Jade. I can imagine that unicorn explogy is going to be an immediate purchase.
I'm not sure yet. I really like it. It's probably the one explosion I like, but we'll see.
I just get robot unicorn attacks music stuck in my head every time I see it.
Always I want to be with.
Yep, and it's back. Thanks, Jen.
You're welcome.
Yep. But outside of the emotes, I think the explosives are a good idea. I don't think there's a lot of them right now that are great. I'm hoping we get some more interesting ones in the future.
I enjoy all the fun and the silly explosives, but can I have some Command and Conquer related emojis or explosives? Can I have some like odd phonetic screams or GDI music or something? I don't know.
There's a lot of room to expand there. As to the unit skins, I haven't seen the Titan yet. I actually tennoed the Blitz and I have the skin, but as I said in my Alliance chat at the time, huzzah, I have gotten the Titan skin, now let me equip it and never use Titans.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is clearly something that's being geared a little more down towards the lower leagues and newer players.
Yeah.
People who are, as they revealed in the recent Ask Us Almost Anything, which is a bit of a mouthful to say, 75% of the player base are using tech decks still.
Oh, yeah.
So that whole thing where we've sat there and said, at the end of each season, that Tiberium being like the top 1%, it probably actually is it's quite surprising. I smurfed down the gold the other day, and you don't fight the same person more than once.
Oh no, of course not. I just wish that they had picked for the first couple of skins to be a unit that's run at all levels.
Well, the bikes were good.
Yeah, like bikes is a great choice, but why didn't we get purple bikes? Or why don't we have green shockwave troopers or something? You know?
Or like blinged out pit bulls or what have you.
Well, pivels don't get seen at all levels.
Oh, okay.
They actually don't get used much at all at lower play.
Yeah, they're very skill intensive because they have to be balanced on Raider, which lower league folks don't use very much. But anyway, the skins I do like the idea of. I suspect there are colors I'm going to care a lot about, but for the most part, for me, it's kind of going like, this is a cool idea. I'm glad it's here, and as soon as you change the models, I will buy them.
Do you think they're ever going to bring alt models for pets?
Yes, I do.
Okay, because I've been begging for those. I want alternate
I
harvesters.
see no reason why they wouldn't. Like, I'm sure it's going to be a ways off because obviously colors are easy to do and people are clearly buying them as I'm seeing a lot of golden bikes. But I want my all Tiv Sun deck where I get a disc thrower skin for Grenadiers and get some old style Orca Bombers and,
That would be incredible.
I'm still baffled that they don't have the Nod soldiers from Tiberian Sun.
Oh yeah. No, I loved the basic rifle and from Tiv Sun.
They just look so cool. Even the sprites.
Tiberium Sun is still my favorite in the entire series. I loved that game.
Yeah, mine too.
It's my favorite, but the gameplay hasn't gotten very well.
I think the gameplay has aged okay, but it's not a competitive game.
No,
It's
not by
important
any
to
means.
remember that. It never has been.
No.
And I think that's the only argument I have. Possibly, I'm gonna say now, I personally agree with adding unit skins rather than just the recolors. The only argument I could make playing devil's advocate against them is that for competitive style play, like when you play League of Legends and that, they you're always pushed into using the generic skins because it makes them quick and easy to spot, and there's no confusion about like, oh my god, what's that? And then realizing, oh, it's just a Wolverine that looks like a post bot.
People aren't stupid. They're going to be able to tell when a unit does a certain thing a certain way. I'm more worried about new people not understanding that that's a unit that they already own, or they should already know what that unit is. As far as competitive play goes, like if you're in Tiberium League, I mean, you should know. I mean, it's
You
the
should be
same
able to
unit.
recognize, yeah.
Yeah.
No, fair point.
The other thing is, they can make an option in the menu to turn it off seeing it on enemy units. And that could even default to off.
Literally what Vainglory did with its hats, because so many people complained that putting hats onto characters was stupid and ruined their immersion. The devs added the ability to turn it off. So you can play a game where everyone is running around in invisible party hats. Talking about the Titan skin, obviously you get that the golden bikes purchase the Titan skin via event.
Mhm.
What are the thoughts on the new event structure, things like the premium tracks and the new type event?
Oh boy, I'm gonna have to be honest here. I'm usually really positive, but it's when you gate the rewards like that, it just pisses me off.
Yeah, the new events are terrible. We just had a slingshot early access event where I'm willing to bet the vast majority of people didn't even come out of it with one slingshot. Like, what's the point of doing an early access event where you don't give access to the unit?
I suppose that's the argument of the definition of access. Everyone had access to it, but very few were able to actually turn that access into a grab. Again, that to me being the apology. Yeah, I do agree. I do agree that nine out of 10 wins to get your first slingshot card, whereas they unlocked it 4, I think it was, if you're on the premium track. It really, I did that run. I did that run twice. I really wanted slingshots, and I could only get to 6 because I kept running into people like Blade. I got to 6 wins. I got to 6 wins, and it was just like, right, I really want this. Therefore, I need to pay the 600 diamonds or however much it was to get that. And then I'm going to run again, and I need to do it again because I need more slingshots to actually
Well,
use them.
and it's not just that either. Like, you look at when they did the Grenadier Early Access Blitz, I got my Grenadiers to 13 off of that. Now, mind you, I'm a very good player. I managed to 10-0 almost all of my runs, but being able to spend diamonds and rerun and know that, look, even if I don't 10-0, I'm still going to get a decent amount is great. In the slingshot blitz, like, I really like slingshots. I actually have some decks I'd like to have them in. But to rerun now, I have to pay almost double the amount of diamonds I was before, and if I do a poor run, it's not even worth going to the premium track, because I'm not after random crates, I'm after slingshots. You've turned an event that was the main place I spent diamonds into someplace I'm never going to spend diamonds ever.
I think you've got a little bit of two things going on there. On one hand, for me, it was pay to get the rewards even if you're mediocre, which, honestly, it saved my ass, but it felt bad. It felt like I was paying to get the slingshots because I couldn't I couldn't earn them myself. The fact that the free track only had slingshots at 9 and 10, whereas the premium track also had them at 4, 5, and 6, meant, of course, I was going to pay diamonds. On the other hand, I do think that perhaps what you've just mentioned there, Jade, is the point that good players were getting level 13 grenadiers. I still don't have level 13 grenadiers. Mine have just hit level 11.
For spending 9,000 diamonds on one event.
Perhaps.
Just saying, it's not like diamonds are easy to come by. That's a lot of money for someone to put into the game for one unit already.
Oh, wow, that's a significant amount of money that they aren't getting now.
The Grenadier one, they did that as the Grenadiers launched. I mean, Grenadiers were in crates and you could clone them at that point, correct?
No.
That was an early access one too.
Yeah, it happened a week before Grenadiers came out.
In which case, then, yeah, they definitely need to find a balance too. Or just, if it took 9,000 diamonds.
Their free tracks have to be way better. The free tracks have almost nothing on them, even when you ignore the early access stuff. It's like, the Titan Blitz, what are you getting out of it? You're getting like 8 uncommon crates and like 5,000 coins plus a skin if you got 10-0.
And that's you running in the Masters level, correct?
Yep. I can't even imagine how bad it is back in Bronze.
Exactly. There definitely needs to be an improvement on the free. I've heard a lot of people banding around the idea of your first run is premium track. I disagree with that because I imagine the majority of the player base are only doing one run. But yeah, definitely improving the free track to make it worthwhile to do the event at all.
There's something off about how much it costs to rerun events now. To me, it just feels really bad having that double dip of diamonds, where it's like, oh yeah, I pay to rerun to get the free track, and then I pay again to get the premium every single time I rerun.
If you pay for the premium, you should just be able to redo it again.
That would be a nice way of doing it, actually. 600 diamonds to get the premium track, and you get a free rerun with it.
Yeah, that put you down on the chase, right? I mean, if you were just thinking as far as trying to get people to spend as much money as possible, if you just give them another spin on the roulette, they always keep spending more. Right?
Yeah, no, that's brilliant.
The only problem with that is if you said no and then later, like the next day or something, you decide, hey, I want to rerun, your option is gone. But yeah. No, there's a lot of things they could do there to make that not feel as bad. It's just, right now it feels really bad paying twice every time you want to rerun if you're going to do that.
But so, yeah, we've talked about the events a little bit there, and I mentioned in our little preamble before we started recording that this would be a topic I'd want to cover, and we'd kind of hit it naturally. Diamonds in game. I love Rivals to pieces. I'm the EA shill apologist that everyone claims I am. Blah 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 blah. Diamonds. This game is so stingy with them. Like, you only get them in uncommon crates, maybe 6 at a time. Uncommon crates only come from the random convoy or from event. It's not like bounties. If bounty crates if the rare crates, the yellow ones, suddenly started giving diamonds, could that fix it?
Well, diamonds used to be the main event award, to the point where I talk about spending 9,000 diamonds on Grenadiers, and that most of that was from events.
Yeah, that beautiful Valentine's Day event for starters.
That was
Yeah,
awesome.
like they did diamond blitzes. Almost always they had the last like 3 rewards in events just be like, oh, here's 100 diamonds, here's 300 diamonds, etc. Right?
I suppose putting them that far up, though, is kind of the rich get richer.
Yeah, and I wouldn't do it like that. I do think that we needed a decrease in the amount of diamonds that were rewarded for that sort of thing, but diamonds basically have vanished from the economy, which is unfortunate because at the same time diamonds have vanished, cloning labs have become a thing, so people who spend money can just get like 1 deck to 15 now, rather than slowly leveling everything and being like a level or 2 ahead. They're just like, oh, well, I'm at 15 now.
Yeah, except there are still those of us who are using their cloning labs to get everything else up to level. So rather than having a whole deck at level 15, I've got everything at level 12.
Well, yeah, if you're willing to spend money to do that, that's great. The thing is, when there was diamond income, it used to be that it was like, oh, well, the whales are ahead a little bit, but I can spend diamonds and that I earn through events and whatnot and sort of keep up. Especially when cloning labs came out and we were originally talking about them, I was like, oh, this is going to be great. You're going to save up your diamonds. You're going to be able to keep up because you're going to spend what diamonds you have to get the units up that you care up, and the whales are going to be like, I want everything, and it's going to be great. And it turns out there just aren't enough diamonds for you to do that, so they just end up getting a deck to 15 and you have nothing.
Yeah.
So what kind of changes would you suggest, other than just, well, maybe just more opportunities to get gems here or there, like maybe once every 10 games to get a gem, every 10 wins. You said something about getting them in bounty crates. Like,
Well,
what would feel more? What would
I
feel
don't
fair?
actually know how to solve this. The thing is, I don't want to give a lot of
Well,
diamonds.
well, it's not really. We're not looking for solutions. We're just like, what do you feel would be good? What would be better? Not so much as like, here's the solution.
There's 2 that I dropped as suggestions to the developers directly. One of them was that for every crate that can possibly drop an epic, so that uncommon crates upwards, preferably even just rare and epic crates. In rare and epic crates, you have a chance that any rare, common, or epic stack you get can instead be diamond. So you might open an uncommon crate, and instead of getting just like your 6 diamonds, couple of commons, and then a couple of rares, you open your rare crate, and instead of the epic in that particular one, suddenly, bam, there's 40 diamonds.
See, to me, that would feel really bad because then I have to spend 150 diamonds to get the VAT to get that epic.
I mean, it's as a random chance, not replacing the epic in it. Just every now and then, instead of getting the epic, you get that. It could be the uncommon, could be the common card. You open a rare crate, and instead of getting 30 militants, you get 10 diamonds. That was one. I haven't done maths or anything on how many diamonds drop. It was just an idea of putting them randomly in the crate. For event, I think events need to have diamonds given a prize at maybe literally the 4 or 5, at about average. If they know that most people go to hit 5 as their top score, put diamonds at 5.
Well, yeah, especially the free track of events, you need to get diamonds. Ideally, I'd put them at 5 and 10.
Yeah, it's like when I started playing Clash Royale, that game very quickly starts incentivizing you to spend gems, to open your crates faster, like the convoy rushing, to spend them in the shop, all kinds of different events. Even joining events, again, you get that free run and then the rerun for diamonds. Obviously, Rivals has taken a little bit out of the book there. But what Clash does really well is often gives you gems. They just drop. You open a chest and there's a common chest and there's 3 gems. You go to the store and your free item in the store that day is a stack of 12 gems. They're just given to you because you then reach that point of going, well, I've got 200 gems. The item in the store that I really want is 300. You know what? I'll just pay and top that up quickly because it's what I need today. You get into the habit of spending them, so it kind of incentivizes you to buy more. And the other way of looking at that, again, it's one I the comparison of a lot, but looking at Vainglory. Almost everything in Vainglory can either be purchased with premium currency. They don't. You don't earn ice. You're not going to find ice in random crates. What they do is they make everything have an ice value and a coin, a credit, a gold value. That gold value is more expensive. Like it's, for example, when a new hero comes out, it's what 600 ice to buy the new hero or 9,000 credits. You can buy 6,000 credits store for 600 ice. So it's clear that using ice is the cheaper way of doing it, but there is that alternative. So having things like the event, you can rerun it for 150 gems, or you can rerun it for 250 gems worth of credit.
Yeah, and that might be part of it too, is just making more ways to spend credits. The problem here, though, of course, is that credits are such a limiting resource already that making more ways to spend them is not necessarily great.
But it's choice, choice.
Yes, it is choice. You can have unit levels, or you can buy cloning. That's right. No. The other thing, though, is with the events and whatnot, after... I keep coming back to Cloning Labs releasing, but they talked about how, oh yeah, we're going to be able to put things like cloning chambers in events, and that's happened almost not at all.
We do have one upcoming, though, but yeah.
Yes, but once a month does not count as very much. I wish they'd sneak a couple more cloning chambers into events, because really, when you look at how people are going to spend their diamonds, it's usually going to be either like, I'm going to spend these on events, or I'm going to buy cloning chambers. And you could at least negate the want for diamonds a bit if you supplied one of those things.
Could you imagine possibly, again, with rare or epic chests, getting cloning chambers instead of epic cards?
I like the crates how they are right now. I don't really want to touch them.
Whereas I'm a tinkerer.
It's taken them so long to get the crates to where they are right now, And they still aren't perfect, but they're better. And if they fix the convoy cycle, which they keep claiming is more than 150 crates and has 12 epics in it, even though it does not, I'll be very happy.
What's going on with the cycle here?
So several people have tested to find what the new convoy cycle is, which is the order of crates that you get every time you start a convoy. And previously it was 150 crates, and I don't remember the numbers offhand, but there was a certain number of epics, rares, uncommons, commons you got in a specific order. And when they changed it back in 1.4 so that there were double the number of epics and such, people started testing again to see, like, okay, so obviously they changed the convoy order, what is the new one? And it turns out we're only getting 10 epics instead of the 12 that they say we are. And the developers keep talking like there's more than 150 crates in the cycle, but we have had people who've gone through like 300 crates and found this repeating cycle already that ends at 150. So we're kind of at the point where it's like, well, there's probably a bug here then if there's supposed to be more crates in the cycle, because you're clearly getting caught off at 150.
What's the chance that maybe it's 170, but if you go to 150, you do 150 again, and then it changes after that?
I don't know how far people have tested. I am not doing that myself currently. But I believe Craig Stoll is checking that right now. And there's not a reason that it should repeat perfectly 2 times in a row if it's a different number,
Yeah, and I just wonder, because just mathematically speaking, if we assume it's 150 and we do that twice, repeating an experiment twice is not enough to mathematically prove anything. It needs to be done at least 3 times. I'm just wondering if perhaps there's an incongruence there, or if it could, very well be bugged. Who knows?
Well, when you go through 150 crates and then you, on the same account, go through another 150 crates and you're recording the order of all of them, and it literally repeats, it's usually a pretty good sign that it repeats at that point.
We're not sending rockets into space here. It's just a loop.
Mind you, obviously we still have people testing this, and it might be fine, but to me it feels like, based on what developers have said in response to several questions on this, is that it might just be bugged.
Yeah, it's the only reason I'm sort of arguing that point is simply because why would the developers lie about something like that?
Well, because it would be bugged and the crate list would be longer, but not actually getting to the post 150 crates thing.
Yeah.
Especially since we know the previous crate list was 150 crates. We tested that with like thousands of crates to figure that out.
Oh, no, I know. The original data was very thoroughly tested.
But anyway, let's move back to the things that have actually happened since
Well,
the last.
I guess the takeaway is that we have top men working on this. Top
Indeed.
men. And we'll get back to you as soon as we figure out what the hell's going on.
Also, if you're out there, Craig, and listening, and you aren't doing this like I think you are, I've just said you're doing this, so, get on it.
You don't want to disappoint the community, Craig. You don't want to disappoint them. Talking about cloning labs and the new events, etc., we've mentioned like the grenadiers and the slingshots. What are your thoughts with the new units? Like, I'm not sure if we talked about grenadiers before, but certainly there's been a couple of changes to them. We've had mutant marauders since the last episode, and obviously now slingshots.
Well, I haven't seen marauders being played at all on my level.
I'm sorry, what? I never heard of these units. Never seen them, never heard of them. No.
That's a lie. You must have done, because Reddit exploded at the fact that they were not Tiberium immune.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
hey,
God.
They're forgotten heal in Tiberium in my favorite Command & Conquer game. They don't heal in Tiberium, clearly broken.
The Forgotten always gets his shit in the stick, and the lore and the gameplay.
Yeah, the Mutant Marauders make me sad because now I know we probably won't get a Forgotten faction, which is what I really want. Which isn't true. I actually don't want a third faction, but if I did want one, that would be the one.
That was the first thing you said when you found out they were part of the game. You're like, I something Forgotten.
In all seriousness, though, Mutant Marauders are like Grenadiers that hit way harder, which sounds amazing on paper until you realize they don't have EMP, so your opponent just avoids them and they never hit anything.
Yeah, they strike me as one of those units that in lower tier can possibly actually almost be oppressive. You shove one of those on a pad and someone goes, oh, it's infantry, I'm going to use my Rhino. And it just doesn't work.
Yeah, lower tier, I can absolutely see them being good. I can see them being good on the defensive in Tib League and whatnot. I know Better Way is playing with them in Tib and really likes them right now. I'm just not sold on it. I feel like there are so many better things you can put in that slot. Build a tank, it'll do the same work, and it can actually catch things.
True. I suppose if we were back in the old MLRS meta, Mutant Marauders might be a little bit better.
So what are they lacking right now other than EMP? Just they're too expensive to really get out?
They're slow, they can't catch anything.
It's the point that you can't send them hunting.
Yeah, you can't send them hunting, and no one in their right mind is going to go like, oh, let me just run my Pitbull into your Mutant Marauders.
But if you put them in a position where the Pitbull has to go past them...
Yeah, they're very good on a set number of maps because they're good defensively. But the other thing is, I can be like, oh shoot, I accidentally ran my unit into it, let me just move away and I'm perfectly fine and you can't kill it. That's the other problem. Like, if you accidentally run... Like, Grenadiers are fairly defensive units, but if I run something into them, that unit usually isn't escaping without some fairly significant damage on it, or just not escaping at all because of how strong the EMP is.
The other side, though, is once you... Like, with Confessors, Mutant Marauders with Confessors are genuinely terrifying. You put those two on a pad, and it's like, okay, and now what? How do you counter that?
But then we're getting into the balance changes we have to talk about. Like how you're never getting a tech unit out again.
Okay, so that's Mutant Marauders. What about the Slingshots?
Slingshots are the most broken unit I've ever seen that nobody's going to run in upper tiers. It's so great.
I'm so scared of them. I'm so scared of them actually being in someone's deck, and they never are.
Well, the thing about slingshots is they're hideously overpowered. They nearly 1v1 basilisks. They wipe out literally all air from 2 range. Like, people talk about how, like, oh, you can build an Orca, and an Orca will one-shot a slingshot. It's like, cool, that's GDI, and second, if I have 2 slingshots, all of your Orcas are dead. You know, like, slingshots should 100% be the death knell of air decks, and I'm sure in lower leagues they will be. But in upper leagues, slingshots aren't seeing play, and they probably won't because we have this other overpowered unit that's overshadowing them called the Pitbull, which already does all of the slingshot's job and hits ground units.
Pitbull, Pitbull, Pitbull. That's all I ever hear from you, Jade.
It's as if they're the one most broken unit in the game.
It's as if they're all you ever see on the battlefield.
Yes, even I have moved running Pitbulls now because they're required. If you're playing GDI and you're not running Pitbulls, you're doing something wrong. That's how good they are.
Especially with the changes to drones.
Not too long ago, they nerfed Pitbull health, and I kind of went like, okay, this is a good change. It's not a huge change, but Pitbulls don't need a huge change, just need a little one. And for a while I thought like, okay, they're probably still a little too strong, but they're not too bad. And then the slingshot came out, and I went and looked like, okay, these things are hideously strong. They're going to be everywhere. And then I played with the slingshot a while, and I played with Pitbull some more, and I went, oh shoot, these things aren't going to see any play at all, are they? Pitbulls are way more broken than I thought they were 2 minutes ago, because they even beat the obviously broken unit in its job.
So what you're saying is that ultimately it took a really, really overpowered unit to show to you exactly how overpowered Pitbulls actually are.
Yep, I thought they were overpowered. I didn't think they were as overpowered as they actually are.
Which is striking because that's all you ever say about Pitbulls. So now you've found a new, completely different perspective, and even more overpowered.
Yep. So I'm glad slingshots came out. It's taught me how much more powerful Pitbulls are than I thought they were. Now, if we could nerf both those units, that would be great.
The Pitbulls are reaching overpowered levels that shouldn't be possible.
It's over 9,000. I don't know. I think it's been an interesting time for the new units. I mean, we've had a few historically that have utterly changed everything. I'm looking at War Dogs. I'm looking at their Cyber Wheels. But recently, like Grenadiers, I love to pieces. When Jade and I were testing those, I was like, oh my goodness, these are like the best thing ever. And I started running them and started winning with them.
They'll run them in GDI decks.
Yeah, but so many people are just like, oh, they're garbage. They're utter trash. And it's like, no, they're amazing. Then they got buffed, and now they are just insane. I love them. Then the Mutant Marauders came out, and it's like, I want to love these. I love the voiceovers. I love the unit design. I love the concept. But yeah, I personally can't make them work.
I don't think Grenadiers are insane. I just think that they're like really solid units. The problem is that a lot of GDI is insane, which is why people don't like Grenadiers.
I mean, you see an awful lot more of them now. It's like we watched the MG squad get buffed to ludicrous levels, only to get nerfed almost out of usage. Mutant Marauders, I feel, still need some love. Slingshots. My point is that since the Cyber Wheels, arguably the Borka is the closest that came to changing anything in game.
Orca Bombers were played for a long time in Tiberium League. I still see them occasionally. I still think they're awful units because Pitbulls exist, but oh wait, we're back to this topic. Let me stop here.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's like we've already gone down that road several times.
Yes.
I do have to say that Orca Bombers, I always underestimate them because of how much you complain about them. And I'm like, what is she talking about? I get my ass kicked by orcas all the time.
Yeah, they're great for Snod.
I guess they are.
Kind of brings me to my next point. I'm sitting there saying, like, we're seeing all these units that I sit there and I hope, like, slingshots, yeah, we're going to change the meta, and no. So we had a bit of an accidental leak recently. What with the Shatterer and the Fanatic.
Such a fascinating, like, in all my experience in playing video games, I've never seen a leak like this before.
Certainly was a large one.
It's interesting because obviously with us having access to the debug and getting to test this, we know that when you see a unit and it is luminescent pink when it touches the battlefield, that's nowhere near balanced. I mean, I can tell you what the Mohawk used to do compared to what it does nowadays. And a lot of these units go through some mad changes. Like, complete redesigns, complete all this kind of thing. But I didn't personally get a chance to use the Shatterer or the Fanatic when they were sort of accidentally leaked like that, simply because I was away and out of Wi-Fi typically those few days. Did either of you two get to play around with them a little? What were they like?
Well, I got the Shatterer unlocked, and I know about what the Fanatics were like, and the answer is the Fanatics were garbage under the balance that they had in the leak. So, and they didn't have any abilities, so I won't talk about the Fanatic. But Shatterers were like hideously OP because obviously it's a pink unit that has no balance, and you could kill bases with them, and they killed infantry fairly well. But they were also very fragile, so it's like, of the things that could have leaked, Shatterers weren't too bad. I look forward to their actual release.
I myself didn't get a chance to unlock anything or play with them. I just looked at them in the inventory, and I was like, "Fuck, am I in the death build? Am I streaming the death build right now? Oh shit!" I was panicking, and I was like, "Oh, okay, hold on."
building my deck. Yep. Wait a minute, what's this pinky here? Wait. Check. Oh, good, I'm in Terminus Shores. This is the live build. We're good.
What was the response community-wise on these kind of leaks? What kind of discussions were made, and how did you think the devs responded to the issue?
I think the dev response was very good. It happened very quickly. Those units were only in for a couple of days. That said, obviously they haven't said anything about them since. And the community response has been surprisingly calm. The only thing that bugs me about the community response now is that my Alliance Discord is filled with people discussing these units and how they fit into decks, and I'm sitting here going, yep, just judge the pink unit that was nowhere near done. I'm sure you're right.
Yep, I've had exactly that same thing. When they were launched, I had a massive. I didn't know they were even in game. I was out at the lodge, and the Wi-Fi out there has been atrocious the past couple of days. Welcome to Zimbabwe. But like, when I did get Wi-Fi access, what twigged me to something being wrong was opening up my phone and it getting so many notifications. The darn thing vibrated itself to the edge of the desk, nearly into the bin, trying to commit suicide with the amount of just stuff coming through. Like, I think I had something like 80, 90 notifications of people asking, what's this unit? What's going on with this? Are you doing an intel report on this? Where's your stuff? All this kind of, over a couple of days, admittedly.
Would you like to do an intel report on a unit that A, isn't out yet, B, may never come out, and C, was nowhere near balanced when it was leaked?
And that's my exact point, having to say to these people that, look, it's a pink unit. I can tell you from my time on the debug that pink means not even ready to consider yet. It doesn't have official artwork, it doesn't have official animation, let alone any form of numbers behind it that mean it is even close to being put in the game.
Oh yeah, for all we know, these units could be cancelled.
It's happened. So it's a case of, I'd like to just to remind people that at that point, at pink, it is literally concept. It's concept, nothing more. What they actually do, if they do come forward, well, we'll see. We'll see when the time comes. I'd be interested to get stuck into that. The community response, I think I agree with you. Sorry, the dev response, Jade. I think I agree with you. I think it was swift, it was clear, it was a unified message of these aren't ready yet. This was an unintended accident. For those of you who do have the cards, we're giving you something back. That's what then annoyed me a little bit. That the community's response was, we got teased something ahead of time. They're not allowing us to keep those cards. Why don't they just lock the card and give it back to us when the unit launches? One, that ignores the fact that it may never launch. And two, that whole I'm only getting a pitiful amount of credits back. It's like, it was an unintentional leak. Chill.
It kind of reminds me of a Louis C.K. joke in which he talked about how he was on one of the first flights to offer a preview of internet Wi-Fi, and like in the middle of the flight, the Wi-Fi dies. I'm like, oh, sorry, sorry inconvenience. So we're gonna have to turn it off for the rest of the flight. And one of the passengers gets like verbally upset about it and like, oh, of course this doesn't work, whatever. And Louis is like, this thing didn't exist 30 minutes ago. Like, you didn't know this thing existed, and all of a sudden you're upset that you can't use it. Like, chill out. Like, you were fine without it before. You'll be fine without it when it comes out. It was just a happy little accident. Don't worry about it.
Exactly. Just enjoy the fact that you got an insight into the development process. As for sitting there saying, oh, the value that I'm being given as compensation. Compensation? Like, how badly were you put out by... Was it traumatizing seeing a new unit?
They took something away from me. I'll never get it back. Don't you understand?
Yeah, I know. I'm probably coming across as a little bit of an ass hat with all that, but
Well, part of it is a lot of people reacted to this leak by going like, oh, I better buy a bunch of cloning labs and clone these units now. And it's like, what were you expecting to happen?
I say it all the time. Like in Armorjet recently, there's been issues with one of the weapons, the Thunderstorm, to the point that a tournament that was running actually turned around and said, look, we need to ban this because it's bugged. It's bugged. The range is far beyond what is actually displayed.
Yep, I'm so glad they fixed that.
And most people were like, yeah, that's fine. That makes sense. It's still good now that it's been fixed. But there were people going like, oh, why has this been banned from the tournament? I've been training with this gun and now it's being taken away from me. It's like, it's bugged. It's clearly bugged. This is obviously not something that was intended. If you are then spending time and effort focusing on trying to exploit something that is not intended to be in the game in the form that it is, I'm sorry, don't expect any recourse when it is taken away from you. People who exploit these little bugs and holes in video games and then get really upset when it's finally dealt with. I've never understood that sort of win at all costs mentality.
Speaking of winning, finally, after complaining about it for so long, our gold caps per day have been removed. We can now get as much gold as we can for every win. And they've also introduced the boost system. Has anyone had any experience? Has anyone used the boost? I personally haven't used any of the boosts yet. But I can tell you that I'm super happy about the gold. Finally let me play.
Yeah, I have not used the boosts yet. That said, just looking at their pure value, it seems like the gold boost is now the best way to get gold, which I'm pretty happy about. And I love that there is an experience boost. I don't know how valuable it is, though, because I haven't really been tracking experience value very well, unfortunately, since it was a system that came out after I was already beyond the point of needing to care about it.
Same.
As to the unlimited gold, it's terrible. I don't know why anyone would want to earn gold forever and be able to level things up. Just, get rid of it.
And why would anyone ever want to keep playing a game?
No, it's great. One of the things that I've started to do recently, since I've had the time again, is I'm actually doing 30 games a day so I can do my cloning lab. And just being able to get gold for all of those is really helpful.
I think it shows evolution of the game and evolution of the developers, that they're growing. Because the original reason that the gold cap was in place was, this is a mobile game. We don't want you to burn yourself out, and we don't want you to feel like you need to be playing XYZ games a day. With bounties being introduced, it was kind of like 10 games. 10 games is all you need to do. That's all we're going to ask. Like, if you want to play more, you can do, but you're getting that diminishing returns. I think it now speaks a lot that the developers have gone, you know what? We were wrong. We were wrong. It wasn't a case of people feeling pressured to do 150 games a day. People just wanted to be able to play as much as they want to play. So having the bounties, carry over from day to day, brilliant change back when that was done. And now taking the gold cap off, it now means that, yeah, look, you can play as little per day or as much per day as you want and enjoy it. And if you want to make that even better, drop some diamonds, and that credit boost is incredible. I've not looked at the experience one either. As Jade says, it is now the best way to earn gold. Historically, the best way to earn credits was to do the bounty rerolls.
Outside of events, yeah. Rerunning credit blitzes used to be better.
Well, yeah, outside of events, rerunning bounties. But now, what is the purpose of rerunning bounties? Like, the only thing I can see for rerunning bounties is if you want to do more than 10 games a day and you've got diamonds to burn. There doesn't seem a specific reason for it. Like, the vault is still better for random cards, for crate value, as I would call it. You've got the boosts, which are better for both EXP and credit value than rerolling bounties. So what is the purpose of rerolling bounties now? As far as I can tell, there isn't really one.
Well, as far as what's going on with the community, there's lots going on recently with just Command and Conquer news and community tournaments and the like. What's going on right now with the rival team league? Like, how's that being handled right now?
So for those who don't know, Odyssey recently started the Rivals Team League, which is a community team tournament where you get a team of 3 or more people together. You fight one game a week, best of 3, against someone on another team, and after, I want to say it's 8 weeks, we'll have a winner, or a winning team, I should say. Right? So that started up recently. We've finished the first week, and so far it seems like it's going well. It's nice to have a tournament that's going on and everything. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of these long form tournaments because there isn't any of the excitement and coverage that normally comes with the tournament.
I was about to say, it's an unusual and interesting format, and it's certainly getting people to think about Rivals competitively again, which, in fairness, we haven't really had much since basically the Terminus Shores Flamer Festival. Since that, I mean, I know Bike Crush has kind of done his own thing, and we'll come back to that in a moment. But yeah, it's that slow burn tournament. It's nice to see people thinking competitively about Rivals again, and people considering different ways to do it. But I do miss that sort of ceremony, that arena feel. That this is one big event.
Is there any sort of like, are they harvesting replays for any sort of like montage or analysis, or is it just
that's my biggest gripe with this tournament, is that they aren't doing that. And I'm sure part of it's because they're letting players decide their own schedule. So it's like, yes, you're going to play one game a week, and you and your opponent are going to find a schedule, but we don't have any way to submit replays or anything.
Oh, crikey, it's dead easy to film a replay and then just upload it to a Google Drive.
Yeah, but to expect everyone to do that isn't going to happen. And to get a good recording is actually fairly hard if you're on Android, because they don't have built-in internal sound recording.
True that.
So it's just not practical.
Unless you're on Samsung. Why, yes. Google? Why?
Hey, I'm happy with my Samsung phone. I'm glad it has built-in sound recording, but yeah, it's a stupid restriction and they should remove it. Not that Google is listening to us by any means. But anyway, yeah, so it's nice to have the Rivals Team League around and providing that competitive environment. It's just not great from a, oh, I wanted to see top players compete standpoint, because you're not seeing that.
You'd think we'd see more of that from Bike Rushers leagues and tournaments, but what's actually happening with those?
Well, that would require him to advertise them. Bike Rush has been running weekly tournaments along with, oh, I don't remember the other person. Bike Rush and one other person who manages the website that they're all hosted on, which I believe is cncbattles.com.
Yeah.
They've been doing weekly tournaments for several months, but they took a break recently because Bike Rush kind of went on vacation and that all stopped. And a number of people have been participating in these tournaments. The only problem is they're not advertised anywhere but Bike Rush's streams. If you don't watch Bike Rush, you probably aren't aware of them. And I don't, so I usually miss them all. And secondly, no one is recording replays for those or covering them with the stream or anything. So it's like, these are happening. There's actually pretty good prizes with them, but there's like no information on them. There's no coverage. And I wish that he would get all this stuff together, get some dedicated streamers, and advertise them so that everyone knows about them and they can be huge tournaments every week. Because they are for money tournaments every week that draw a fair amount of competition. It's just all of the other parts are missing.
It does seem very weird that, Rivals being a competitive game, originally being advertised as a competitive game, a lot of people constantly asking, where's the competitive side coming? When's all that coming? To the point that it was actually in the recent patch notes that they actually answered that and said, look, it is still in the works. It's still something on the cards. We just want to get the rest of the game sorted first. For those people who are asking, where is the competitive scene? Bike Rush, I know, was one of those early on who was very vocal about, like, where is it? I want this. To the point that he's now set it up. So why is he not advertising it?
I'm kind of to that point where it's like, if they restart these tournaments, because obviously it's been on break for a month or so, I'm kind of tempted to just go like, hey, Blade, do you want to get together with me and we can go to Bike Rush and just say like, hey, we'll advertise these and maybe see if we can pull in like Forecourt or Jeffrey or someone to cast them, because we need these. They just need to be like the Flamer Festival sort of advertised and built up rather than hidden in the back room.
The player base for this game is growing. We know it is growing. Steadily, slowly perhaps, but there is growth. The developers are obviously keen to see, is competitive something that we do all want. So we need to be showing that, I feel. I really feel that we need to be doing more of this stuff, showcasing more, and finding ways for the developers to assist. It doesn't have to be a real world money prize. If you could play a tournament and the top prize for winning that tournament is 5,000 diamonds, I'm sure people would enter and compete just for that.
Oh yeah, I certainly hope the devs have something like that planned. It'd be great.
It's so simple. Just, again, I know so many other mobile games that literally do that. Fan-created tournaments, you go to developers and say, this is what we want to do. What prize are you willing to offer? We know for a fact that the developers can send out gifts and items through in-game mail to people. We know that they can target that based on like the launch event where it was like North America, Europe, that kind of. So it's certainly a possibility that when it comes to it, that they could do this. You run a tournament, whoever wins that tournament, we let the devs know and they send out the prizes. So many games do this.
I don't know Bike Rush that well personally, but he seems the kind of guy who's open to that kind of communication. So I would just say if you and Blade reached out to him, I think it would good things would happen.
Well, mind you, I'm putting Blade's name out here without ever having talked to him about this. But
He won't mind. That sour pussy's
See, that's my whole thing this episode is I mention someone and I go, yeah, they'll do this with me or are working on this. And it's like, I'm just obligating all of you.
In case our listeners have forgotten, just to give a refresh, that is Craig. If he's not doing his chests, then the chest survey, then we need you all to rise up against him. And if Blade doesn't agree to do this with Jade, we need you to rise up against him. We can even link his stream in the description below and send angry people that way.
I do know that there's a lot of Command and Conquer news coming from the Command and Conquer Remastered team. We got our first screenshot of the remastered construction yard.
Oh, so pretty.
Which looks fantastic. They've been doing a lot of communication on the forum. They said that a lot of they're doing like a 50-50 kind of inspiration between what the sprites represent and what little CGI that they had in the FMVs. So they're kind of like putting them two together. So if you notice, they have like the Conyard has like a kind of a weird, like a grid type of door on it that's not in the it's not in the actual in-game sprite, because that's actually something that they took from the CGI assets. And I would know because one of my earliest 3D projects was to recreate the unpacking scene from Command and Conquer in 3D. So I'm very intimate with that particular FMV. And there's so many other cool things that are happening with it too. They're talking about how the engine of the game that the remaster is going to be is they had access to, they said, like a large portion, like 90 to 95% of the source code they still had. So they're taking all the rules of the game and the engine, and they're putting a layer on top of it for lighting and sound effects. Have any of you guys been catching up or reading up on that end of Command and Conquer?
A little bit.
And whatever sort of drips my way from Twitter.
For me, though, it's like we're so early in the dev process there that it's really just a matter of seeing what they do with all this. The render looks amazing, but I want to see it in engine. I want to see it in motion, you know?
Me too. Oh yeah. It's like but why didn't they just show us the unpacking scene? I mean, it unpacking. It can't be that. I mean, if they have the render, they should have the animation. I don't know.
Well, they might not yet. Like, it's super early development. This game
Right.
did not exist last year, you know?
It didn't exist 3 months ago. I find it fascinating that the outreach too is there. Frank Kopacki did a questionnaire out there, and he's like, he did the first release of Command and Conquer. We omitted the vocal tracks of all of the songs because we were worried that the players would get confused about voices in the game, like where they were coming from. And he was asking, in this remaster, should I remaster the tracks to be with or without the vocals to be as authentic as possible? And now there's an argument about that, whether or not do you want Mechanical Man to have.
And what is your mission? Not that that would affect me in any way.
Yeah, I'm sure you don't care at all about the music. I mean, it's not like you've named series after it or anything.
So we've talked a lot about things that have changed over the past month or so since we last did an episode. Of course, one thing we haven't talked about is change itself, and that's the balance updates. We've had a couple in that time and some quite big shifts as well. Jade, I imagine you've got a few things to say about all this.
Well, the game isn't perfectly balanced yet, I'm sorry to report.
Oh, damn it.
But it's closer, which is all I really ask for from these patches.
Or should we tackle the very biggest one first and talk about the Harvester Bounty and the missile timing?
Oh, right. The missile timing probably is the biggest one. You are correct on that.
I think that's the biggest change to the game in ages.
This is the third or fourth time, right, that they've changed the bounty on the harvesters.
It started as 100. They then changed it to 80. So I suppose that's your first change. Then they changed it from 80 back to 100. So that's change 2, and that's back to 80 again. Change 3.
Which I didn't think would ever happen.
No, neither did I. It was so badly received last time.
Which is funny, because I actually really liked it the first time they did it.
Well, it was back then. It was a bunch of jump trooper spam, and so you were just people were just boosting jump troopers and killing the harvester and going
Well,
over
you
and
still
over
had
again.
bike
And
rushes
they
and
made it.
whatnot, but yeah.
Oh yeah. The point was is that they didn't want to make it profitable or didn't want to make it worth it to boost and then win every single time on those harvesters. That was at least that was when the first change happened. So what I'm getting at is why did they change it now? I didn't really see this change on the radar, and I just read the patch notes when I started streaming on Sunday, and I was like, really? They changed what was like? I don't understand.
Yeah, I don't get this either. I have some theories on why they changed it, but I don't know the reason, since they obviously have done this before and decided it wasn't a good idea. I thought, oh, okay, we're just going to be at 100 Tiberium bounty forever, or at least for the foreseeable future. Apparently, that future was not very long, a few months. But yeah, my suspicion is that it's a buff to tech, because they also hurt tech a whole bunch in this patch.
So how is it a buff tech if killing harvesters makes it harder for you to get the tech?
Simple. It's decreasing the amount of people who are going to be playing rush decks.
Huh?
So it's
Yeah, that
safer
makes
to
sense.
double harvester earlier as a result. Obviously, you're not going to rush, kill a harvester, and then get your tech up, but let's be honest, that wasn't a good plan to start with. Like, people did it, but you actually just got tech up faster if you just went 2 harvesters and then saved than if you spent a bunch of your money trying to kill a harvester and hopefully succeeding, in which case you probably paid for your rush and maybe got like 20 Tiberium on top of that. Now you pay for your rush and that's about it. As far as higher leagues go, this change doesn't actually do much. It probably kills rushing and that's about it. But most people weren't rushing anyway, so that doesn't bother me too much. And then it stops the mid game. I'm going to keep fueling my war by killing your harvester over and over with the occasional tank or whatever, which is something that I know Alicia does against a lot of opponents, and if you have level differences, it's really easy to do. In which case, maybe that helps a little.
I was about to say level differences are another thing I think come in as well.
Yeah, way easier to kill a harvester if you're up like 3 levels, But generally speaking, I feel like this change, I like it. I don't think that rushes should be that encouraged, because they aren't a good strategy, and encouraging them just makes people in lower leagues get too used to doing them to the point that when they hit like masters, they're really lost. But anyway, the more impactful change here, though, is 100% the change in missile charge time.
Yeah, crikey. 5% off each missile launch. 5%, sorry, 5 seconds off each missile launch, total of 10 seconds for the first two. And then the second missile has gone from 30 up to 40. So all 3 missiles are now 40 seconds, 45, 45, 30.
Yeah, they basically just leveled them all up to be 40, 40, 40, which I've talked for a very long time about changing the missile charge times. I fully believe the third missile should be the same length as the first two. This was not how to do it.
You think 45, 45, 45?
To be perfectly honest, I'd like them all at 50, 50, 50, but that's not happening. And I was truly shocked when they changed this at all, because it impacts all of the game. Which is why I eventually gave up suggesting the missile charge times be changed, because several devs kind of point out that, like, this is too much of a change. It affects too many things. And it's like, okay, well, and my point was to try to figure out a way to make tech work. And my new suggestion has been, oh, well, tech works on some maps, so just let us select a deck before you enter a map, which would work fine. Until this patch, where now tech is basically dead because you took
For
10
higher
seconds
leagues, yeah.
away from tech players. Yeah, for higher leagues, 100% it is. And I'm very curious to see how far down that will go, if it goes down at all through the lower leagues. I should also clarify, when I say tech is dead, I mean dedicated tech decks. Mid-range tech decks that just run like one tech unit and splash it off of a single harvester are perfectly fine. In fact, they're even better than they used to be because they are the decks that care about that third missile more than anyone else.
Yeah, this was the point I've been making on the community Discord, that the biggest thing to this change ultimately now is that if you've got a tech splash deck, it has an advantage over aggro decks. Now, only slight, but it's there. Aggro decks have advantage over dedicated tech, and I'd argue that dedicated tech has an advantage over the tech splash decks, which kind of gives it almost a rock paper scissors. And I'm not sure how I feel about that. I like it on surface level, but ultimately at top league where everyone plays aggro.
Whereas I completely disagree with your premise. I think dedicated decks are just dead now because mid-range decks beat them too. Because you're playing off one harvester and I have 5 units and you have at most 4 units to fight my 5 and a disadvantage on unit numbers and 10 seconds less. I still beat you.
But I mean, if a tech player can get out two of their tech units, that can be very hard to deal with if you've only got one.
The thing is that if you play against a tech deck now and you knew how to counter tech previously, and you still do that, there isn't enough time. Like, those 10 seconds absolutely killed tech decks. The first couple of games I played, it was like, I ran to someone running sandstorms, and it's like, okay, you built a sandstorm, I'm running my air deck, so I have to build a grenadier to counter, but oh wait, let me just move this rifle in front of it for 2 seconds, and I win because the missile launched. You know?
Crikey.
Like, this has just killed tech in upper tiers. 100%. At least dedicated tech again.
2 tech units to me makes sense, and I think that in itself should be viable. Because otherwise there are just so many tech units that aren't worth running. Like, if you're just going to have one tech unit, there are certain things that it's pointless having.
And I think 2 tech units is pretty much the ideal number. I think 3 might be able to be a thing on some maps, but again, this was assuming that the missile time wouldn't change and that you'd be able to pick decks before each map, because that's how I think you would solve this. I don't know. I just feel like this is the worst change they've actually done to the game so far, outside of like hideously overpowered things. And I don't mean anything post-launch for anyone who's listening and wasn't here in the pre-alpha. I mean like Liang's drone now makes infantry invulnerable. That's the sort of thing I'm talking about. That's worse.
That's significant from coming from you, Jade, where you think this missile change is probably the biggest change that's happened in a long time.
I mean, you basically just took a fourth of the units in the game and said, don't play with these.
Yeah, no, you're totally right.
With the exception of like 2 of them. Because tech splashes kind of work. Which I suppose should get us to what those units are, because we just had balance updates that made some of those units a thing. The first of which being, I'm sure to Benzie's delight, artillery.
Yay.
So, the funny thing about artillery right now is, first of all, yes, it is viable. I've been running it for like a week, and a little underleveled because I haven't leveled my Nod tech for obvious reasons in the past. Nod gets the short end of the stick on the tech front, generally speaking. But I'm running into a lot of Nod artillery, and I've been playing it a fair bit, although I'm kind of going back and forth between it and a more aggro deck. But it really works right now. It's possibly too strong, but it's hard to say if that's actually true, because it is very fragile. So I will be very curious to hear what your current thoughts on it are, Benzie.
I love it. I genuinely love it. I think it's possibly the best it has ever been. Did it get stealth changed to 90 cost recently?
It's always been 90.
Wasn't it 80 at one point?
Nope. Always been
Nope.
90.
God,
It's always been that.
I'm losing it. I'm losing it. No, I really like the artillery in its current form. I think it's still got that whole
What did they
thing.
change?
the projectile actually travels faster, so it doesn't miss anything that moves faster than like a predator.
Also, it fires faster in general.
Yeah, I was about to say rate of fire increase. It's nice. It's still got those big issues with any two range unit like that, in that it is fairly. It's not slow moving, but it's not quick either. It has to set up. You have to dismantle it and pull it down if you want to move it.
Doesn't matter, it has 3 range.
But against things like orcas, which are still very much a meta unit right now, it's still got some key weaknesses. And again, it's tech. It's in a 120 cost building that is now historically the hardest it's ever been to get to. So for me, the artillery is actually finally at that place where I've always wanted it to be. In that you get it out and it actually makes a difference in the battlefield.
For me, I think it might be that it does a little bit too much to vehicles. I don't think it needs a huge nerf. I think a tiny one would probably be fine. But the fact is, right now, it wipes out everything on the ground.
I'm quite happy with its vehicle damage. Ultimately, it still takes a couple of shots to hit some certain key things, and it's utterly useless against air. So it's still, 3 shots a Predator?
Yeah, except not as stealth tank. One shot all air units. That's the problem here, is that combination.
Mm.
And you can't reach it with a ground unit before it kills it. With the exception of APCs, which do not kill it fast enough. Well, and tech units, but thankfully, all of tech has been wiped out from the meta, so you no longer have tech decks to worry about, which was the other thing stopping artillery.
Yeah, it was weird that having something in a tech unit, in a tech building, just was useless and got absolutely wrecked by tech.
So, yeah, I like the artillery changes. I think it needs a slight nerf, but generally speaking, if it stays somewhere near where it is, I think it'll be okay.
We've had some other interesting changes as well. The avatar being rubber banded up and down, along with the Orca Bomber getting nerfed and then getting buffed. Flame Tanks got the most pointless buff in history.
Hey, now that buff had a point, it just isn't clear to any of us.
It already pretty much instantly wipes out all infantry, so we're now going to give it more damage to infantry.
Well, it kills tech infantry better now, is more the thing.
There's nothing wrong with more DACA, good sir.
I still miss my my flame tank base rush. That to me, I think anything that can kill bases is an interesting addition to the game. I love the Jade Chem Warrior like base rush thing. It's nice.
You must really love disruptors right now, then.
I actually kind of do. My only sourness at disruptors right now is that I miss Flame Tank being able to do that. I miss Flame Tank actually being able to do it, and it just, I don't know, maybe it's just me being a salty Nod main, but I get everything at the moment feels very much like GDI has a lot of variety. GDI has a lot of interesting toys that can do all kinds of really cool things. Nod kind of gets stuck very limited unit choices because the unit's either amazing or worthless.
I believe I've said this on a previous Commander's Corner, but the thing about Nod isn't that they're limited in unit choices or anything, or are lacking things. They have almost all the same roles that GDI has. The problem is that Nod units don't work together.
Yep.
Almost every GDI unit works in combination with some other GDI units. There are very few Nod units that do.
Yeah. I've said it a couple of times as well, is that GDI units tend to be a little bit more rounded. They tend to be good at a couple of things, whereas Nod tends to be exceptional at one thing, which makes it very hard to balance. And it's very hard to get something into a deck because of that. Because, okay, yeah, sure, this one particular unit might be absolutely fantastic at dealing with something, like Flame Tanks. Flame Tanks are exceptional at dealing with a pad full of infantry. But by the time you get a flame tank out, you never really have that much infantry holding a pad. So it's kind of like, it's fantastic at what it does, but there's no point to doing it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't think flame tanks are ever going to be useful unless there's way more structures in the game, personally. They're not. They're a weird
I just love
design.
to see that structured damage come back. I mean, doing that test with building a flame tank. If you build a flame tank at the same time you build a disruptor, the flame tank gets into base range and starts hitting that base significantly earlier than the disruptor does. The disruptor still kills the entire base before the flame tank gets it down to 50%. Yes, the point there is that disruptor's base damage is utterly disgusting. But to me, I just...
Hey, now, Disruptor only 4 shots bases. Clearly not broken.
But I'd like the flame tank just to have a bit more structure damage. You know, it used to be that a flame tank in mid to upper leagues, flame tank base rushes only worked if you could get the flame tank to your opponent's base before your opponent could pull out a tank, and B, if you could get to tech. You know, there were a lot of restricting factors to a flame tank rush. You had to catch them by surprise. You had to hope they didn't know how to counter it thoroughly, and you had to be ahead in the game in order to make it work anyway. If your opponent's got the first missile and you're flame tank base rushing, you're not going to win the game before they launch the second missile. Simple put. It's like the Jade base rush. You have to get the first missile, then go for the base rush. Nowadays, if you get that first missile, if you get the flame tank out, if your opponent doesn't spot it in time, and they don't know how to counter a flame tank, I build a predator, they still launch the second missile before the flame tank does anything. It just doesn't have that option. It's incapable of dealing enough damage to structure. Same against like a what's it called? An obelisk. A flame tank now loses against an obelisk.
Yeah, they definitely need buffs. I just don't think there is an amount you can buff them that will get them seeing widespread play without being like, oh, well, these just cause huge issues at lower leagues and are still unplayable at higher leagues. Like, I just think it's a bad unit design.
Now that they've been taken out of the lower league, I'm fine with them having... I would like to see them have their damage back, their structure damage back, and I would like to see them either have their health or their speed back. One of those two.
I just don't think any of it's going to matter.
I think the flame tank ultimately is always going to be situational. But I liked it being situational. I liked being able to just play an early aggro game, get that first missile, and then, surprise, here's a flame tank coming straight at you. And hope that your opponent panicked enough to stop it.
Well, hopefully they buff it for you then. I just don't think it's going to matter if they buff it. It's not going to change the meta. It's not going to be an impactful unit ever because of its design, unless it's hideously broken. The thing that has bugged me a lot about Rivals Balance is that it really seems like they're a little bit more focused on the low end, which makes sense because there's more players there. But they're kind of focused on it to the point where it's like some things have needed fixing for a while that you probably should have just fixed without that. Like, I know I never talk about this, but pitfalls are barely played on the low end because you have to be able to micro and stack them and take advantage of Raider for them to be good. But on the high end, they're just dominating the game.
Yeah, so who cares if lower players aren't running them?
Yeah, there's a point where you have to give up on that and you just have to say, okay, this is a huge issue for the balance of the game. We need to fix them. And if low players don't run them, then okay, I guess we'll have to live with that. We just gave them slingshots. It'll be fine. And maybe they'll do that, because, again, we just got slingshots, and maybe next balance patch we'll get a Pitmuller. I certainly hope so. But by the same token, I don't mind that the flame tank isn't what it could be, because it has troubles at lower leagues, and we're not going to run it upper leagues anyway, you know?
I just miss being able to run it in upper league stuff, and I think that was kind of the point. Seeing the flame tank get nerfed twice in the space of 1 week, and purely based on feedback from lower leagues, was, for me personally, disheartening. And to have, over the past few patches, see the avatar go through the exact same thing. But ultimately, the Avatar
Poor
is not a
Avatar.
particularly great unit. It hasn't been for a long time, simply because you can win the game via aggro. But the Avatar gets nerfed and nerfed and nerfed purely because people don't learn how to counter it, don't learn how the game works.
Well, before all of our angry comments come and yell at you about the Avatar, the Avatar saw a lot of play in Tiberium League, especially in like top 10 play. Suzaku was in like first or second that season running Avatar decks. So obviously it was working. The thing about the Avatar, and the reason it probably didn't need as many nerfs as it got, wasn't that it wasn't strong, because 100% it was really strong. It wiped out the previous meta decks very well, which is why it became a top tier unit. The thing is that if you weren't playing meta and you had counters to it, it just crumbled. Like all of my decks completely destroyed Avatar deck. But my decks weren't meta. And if you put my decks against the standard aggro decks, they didn't do very well. So it kind of was in a rock, paper, scissors situation, and it was worth nerfing.
Is it though? Because if something comes along and shifts the meta, but it is itself still counterable, should it be nerfed?
In the case of the Avatar, yes, it needed nerfs, because it made the game a, did you bring this deck? Yes? Then, okay, you're going to have a bad matchup against Avatars. And it's like, again, I don't think it needed as many nerfs as it got, by any means. Bad matchups are bad matchups,
That's
and
my
they should
point.
be a thing. But it did need nerfs, and it deserved the majority of the nerfs it got. The speed nerf was too far. And they've obviously started to undo
That's what
some
I
other
mean, that
things.
it got hit so many times. And when a unit starts getting hit so many times, that's when I start getting that little bit of like the flame tank PTSD on. That like,
Yeah, for me
it
it's
starts
Kane.
to feel
They
reactionary.
they killed Kane with one nerf, and then they nerfed him again. You know? Like, obviously, these are things they are still working on, and the Avatar's gotten a buff. I won't be shocked if it gets another buff. And if the missile charge time hadn't changed, I'd say they'll probably get to a playable point, but they won't while that's in place, so...
Yeah, sad to see that missile change came the same time that the Mammoth just became quite an impressive unit again.
Oh my goodness, the Mammoth is so good right now. It's a shame no one's ever going to build one again.
That's what I mean. Fantastic that it's back in a great place. Unfortunately,
How can you
get
ever
it.
expect a unit like that to actually reach the pad?
It has the speed of a Predator tank now.
So it can reach the pad if you could ever
Or
build
at least it could if there were like 10 more seconds in the game.
Oh, that's going to become a meme in the future, isn't it? The Mammoth tank's biggest problem has always been that by time you can build it, it's too late in the game for it to actually be able to do anything. So it finally gets its speed increase, only for them to speed up
But
the
it
game.
doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter how fast you run if you don't start the race at the same time as everyone else. Or if you don't get to start the race until everyone else is crossing the finish line.
It's rigged. Rigged against your Mammoth tank.
Of course, the funny thing is, I kind of think if the missile charge time didn't change, we might be seeing a Mammoth tank meta, because the fact that crush infantry in one hit may actually have pushed them over the top with the new speed. But it doesn't matter, because you can't get them out, so...
I've been watching a couple of lower league replays, and yeah, it's hilarious when you watch someone get out zone troopers, or my personal favorite. I saw one from Diamond Platinum 3 yesterday evening. That a guy gets out a Mammoth tank against someone who is running the Confessor Cyborg combo. And you'd think Confessors and Cyborgs are probably the one combo that might be able to take out a Mammoth. No, the Mammoth reaches that pad, and the guy just jacks and boosts it, and it crushes everything.
Yep.
Like, you see that whole thing in the cartoons of like a car driving over someone, flattening, spinning round, and just reversing backward and forward over the body, sort of thing. That's what it feels like to watch.
But yeah, we've had some really good tech buffs recently. It's sad that no one will be playing tech ever again.
I hope someone's listening out there.
I'll be very curious to see what the next patch looks like. I am sad it is probably a month away. Otherwise, outside of tech, the MG squad has gone down and up again. I personally don't think they were that great when they were at the previous number, but they were fun. I assume they're still not anything special.
I stopped running them a while ago. I struggled with them to the point that I just replaced them.
Yeah, I mean, you know me, I ran them from the day they came out up through. I even played them at the launch event, Love the unit. I just feel like they aren't getting to a point where it's going to be consistent enough. And they were almost there. Almost. And then they nerfed them, and now they've buffed them back, but not fully, and I don't think they're there.
It's the vehicle damage is what they needed.
Yeah, they really need the vehicle damage. I believe since last time they did the drone swarm changes, though. I'm not sure if we covered that last time. It would have been either just before or just after.
The drone swarm changes, I think they were just after, because they've only recently suddenly become meta dominating.
Yeah, I suppose we can talk about their effect in either case. I'm seeing a lot of drones. I'm running drones, for that matter. They are very good.
Because they're so hard to counter right now.
Unless you're GDI.
But, of course, GDI counters all aircraft. But poor old Nod, you send in an attack bike squad, and if you're lucky, you take out 3 of the 5. If you're unlucky, for some reason, it doesn't quite take out the 3rd one. Stealth tanks, a 90 cost anti-air unit, can't take out a 20 cost drone swarm. Help! Poor Nod.
Which is I find is kind of funny, because I think in every other respect, Nod's anti-air is probably a little bit stronger in terms of stealth tank versus other things, because one-shotting things is very powerful. With the exception of orcas, which is a whole other meta thing right now that we'll have to discuss. But yeah, no. The thing about squad-based air units is that nothing has area of effect damage against air units. And they have just enough members in the squad to be really annoying.
I think the issue I have personally with them, it's only a light issue. I'm going to say now, I like that drone swarms have become a thing again. I really, really like that, because it shifted the meta quite considerably. But it is simply the fact that something like attack bikes and the stealth tank struggle to take them out before something else takes them out. And that therefore Nod only really has one cost-effective counter, which is currently the laser squad, possibly buggies.
Bikes are still a cost-effective counter. They're not quick about it, but they are a cost-effective counter.
That's what I mean. There's nothing that's cost-effective and quick. And I'm not saying that anything should have both.
I'm going to be honest. I may have lured you into this position because I kind of knew where you stood. Personally, I think drone swarms are perfectly balanced right now.
So do I. So do
Okay.
I just think that Nod needs something that can take them out a little bit better than it currently has, is my point.
I do think that we need more things that shoot up. But generally speaking, and I know a lot of people disagree with me on this and think drone swarms are overpowered and whatever, but if they are any weaker, no one would run them. Like, GDI doesn't need the slot the drone swarm is in if it isn't this good. Because Talons do this job quite well.
I think that's actually the best thing about drones. They are now actually a quick anti-infantry. They are the cyber wheel speed, in that they actually kill infantry at a decent rate. Like, yeah, sure, you can 2v1 riflemen into flame troopers, but drone swarms just are better at that. It's literally like as I said, like Sideways.
Well, yeah, I look at the drone swarm as like, okay, this is GDI's equivalent to the Venom,
Yeah,
because that's the role they're currently filling, and it's great. We just maybe need a couple more things that shoot up and can kill them without, wiping out all air units, like say the slingshot does. Like, I don't mind that stealth tanks can't one-shot them. I actually don't. I very much like that about them because stealth tanks are already very strong. But there needs to be something else with Knob that can kill them quickly. Preferably that costs a little less than a stealth tank.
preferable.
But I suppose while we're kind of on this topic, the stealth tank got nerfed a fair bit.
Well, I was just 1 second on their missiles, right?
It was more than that. They got the reload speed nerf, which was 1 second, as you say, but they also got the Oksana nerf so that Oksana doesn't increase reload speed as much as she used to, which is what really made the stealth tank great and replacing actual normal tanks in a lot of decks.
The issue is that came at the same time that the Phantom has been nerfed.
I don't think the Phantom nerfs matters personally, but the thing about the Phantom is the reason it doesn't see a lot of play is it's a very niche unit. The cost going up by 10 doesn't matter because you aren't building multiple Phantoms, you're building one Phantom and it's killing all air units and then it's surviving. Cost increases really matter for multiples, like the Inferno going to 110 made a big difference because you need like 3 Infernos. Tanks going up made a difference because you want to be able to stack like 2 or 3 tanks. The Phantom going up means I get it a second later and it still kills everything.
Fair point.
I don't know. I feel like they could have done a better rebalance of the Phantom. It needs to not kill everything in one hit, and it needs to be cheaper, in my opinion. Because it's like, you made this really interesting unit. You gave me an anti-air unit that's very micro-intensive, that has EMP, and then you made it one-shot everything, so none of that is true. And I don't understand why.
Is there anything else we have on balance?
I suppose it should be mentioned that Orcas, despite my previous opinions on them, have become meta. I think that's largely because stealth tanks are meta.
So you want something that one-shot delete.
I love where orcas are right now.
Yeah, Orcas are in a good place. But I think they're largely meta because stealth tanks are meta, and Orcas and stealth tanks trade with one another, where Mohawks and stealth tanks do not. But besides that, I don't think there's much else to talk about. Continue to be a fairly good meta, fairly diverse. I have minor complaints in a number of places, but outside of pitbulls, nothing is horribly, and slingshots, nothing is horribly overpowered.
What are your thoughts on pit bulls?
I believe we've gone into that enough now.
I need to go deeper.
They're the best unit in the game, and if you aren't running them, you're doing something wrong. Try again, you know. Ugh.
Well, I think this is going to wrap up our episode for this month. Definitely had crap ton to talk about, and my previous worries about us not having enough time were a fallacy because we went really long this time.
Yep, thanks for all the editing work.
Oh, yeah.
You're welcome.
Well, thanks for tuning in. We love doing these. We're going to continue to keep doing them every month. I love getting pings like, hey, when's the next Commander's Corner? I'm really glad people listen to them. So once again, I'm GenSilos. I stream sometimes. It's been really crazy lately with the kids, so you'll catch me hopefully more often. I'm not going to give times anymore. I'm just going to stream when I can. JadeXyan, where can they catch you?
Well, like Jen, I also stream occasionally, although that's less than Jen, and every time I say, yeah, I'm gonna have more time coming up and maybe I'll stream more, something inevitably comes up and I don't stream. So I'm not going to do that, but you can find me at twitch.tv/JadeXyan, and I promise that there will be a stream there occasionally sometime. Similarly, there's this replay analysis series I've been trying to get off the ground for a while now, which Benzie keeps yelling at me about.
Make it happen.
So I promise it will happen. I can't tell you when because I've been running into so many issues trying to get a video editor up and running and good enough to do this, and other life things have just been slowing that down. All of them are. But it will happen. There will be links around. I'm sure you can find it. Otherwise, I will see you whenever I get to streaming, or of course, you can always contact me on the Discord, where I am a moderator in the community Discord and generally around all the time. So, just ping me. Always happy to talk about anything Rivals related.
And of course, last but not least is Captain Benzie.
It should be fairly easy to find. You can head to youtube.com/Captain Benzie, all one word. Or you can, of course, find me, like with Jade, on the Rivals community Discord, the subreddit. I tend to be hanging around as well. Always more than happy to chat about Rivals. I do a couple of YouTube series, both about the units and, well, hopefully more about the gameplay. And be more than happy to see you guys all there.
All right. Well, that's our episode. Thank you so much for coming, guys. Thank you so much for listening. And you'll have a wonderful day.
Take care.
If they can get Sonic's design to change in the movie, we can do anything.
Wait, did they get his design to change?
Yes, they
Oh yeah,
actually
the director
changed
announced
it.
that they were going to.
Thank
the director
God.
announced that
Mind you,
they're
the
gonna
movie is still going to be
redesign.
terrible, but at least Sonic will look better.
I don't know. It actually, what I know that we're getting off topic here, but watching that trailer, I was like, if this wasn't Sonic the Hedgehog, this would be really quite enjoyable. And I don't know if you stayed to the very last second of the trailer, but there was one
Unfortunately,
little
I
reveal.
did. So, Jen, who are we getting to replace Benzie next time?
Oh, come on. The Eggman reveal at the end was awesome.
Yeah, Eggman, of all the things that they did right, Eggman looks pretty good.
Jim Carrey, throughout that entire thing,
cool.
I was laughing through most of that trailer. Yes, Sonic looked terrible, and the fact that it's Sonic just is weird. If it wasn't Sonic the Hedgehog, if it was just a random character, to me, the script seems solid, the filming seems solid. It's just the fact that it's Sonic the
Script is
Hedgehog
so
that lets it
bad. Are you
down.
kidding me?
I say the exact same thing about the Super Mario Brothers movie. If it would exist in its own little universe where the Mario Brothers games didn't exist, that movie would be a classic. It would be an amazing, fun movie. Say the same thing.
Yeah, true that.
I thought I knew you both. Apparently, I don't.
Do you not see? I streamed it. I have a full size, legitimate marquee poster from 1993 of Mario Brothers. It's mirrored and everything, and I have it framed, and I have I have a I have every single one of the 6-inch toys that they released. I don't have the full set. I'm still missing the Devo chamber, the cop car, and I'm missing the 12-inch versions of Mario and Luigi. But I love this movie.
And that's the point. As a
So
film,
now that we've lost all of
it's
our
not
viewers,
the best film ever made. It's definitely not the best film ever made, but very few classics actually are when you go back and watch them. Watch Forrest Gump critically, and it's terrible. It's a bad film when you really watch it critically. The Mario Brothers film, if it was its own thing, if it wasn't Mario, if it wasn't supposed to be King Koopa and all this, if it was just about this weird underground universe that exists below Manhattan, that's a really cool concept. Yeah, I don't know. I agree with you, Jen. I agree with you.
Solidarity. I find it in the weirdest places.